I'm Liz Sauer, and this is Ghosts in the Burbs, a podcast about the people of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and the ghosts and monsters who haunt them. A warning. Adults who use adult language tell me these frightening tales. These ghost stories aren't for kids. As usual, I have no schedule or plan. I just have a story to share. It's a short one, but a story all the same. And I'm really missing my librarianship days, so I'm going to try and have more recommendations for you, here and on my Instagram page. Stay tuned after the story for several timely recs and a touch of social commentary. But for now, we're on to ghost story number 80. What a pickle. Do not read it aloud to me, or anyone else for that matter. But do you know what the note says? I squinted at the tightly packed writing. It's gibberish. But if you could you sound it out? Sure, don't, Judith yelled, and I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Don't sound it out. Take a picture of it and text it to me. I'll do some research. Okay. You really didn't know she was human? I didn't, I admitted. I had a bad feeling from the second I opened the door, but when she said she was a neighbor, I pushed it aside. Yeah, well, don't ignore that feeling anymore, even at the risk of being rude. Something's up. Things feel off to you, too? Yeah, in many ways, Judith affirmed. What else have you noticed? The ghosts. It's just that things are really quiet, too quiet. Even Claire has been disappearing for days at a time, and she's vague about where she's been. My guides are absent, too, and there's no shortage of creeps slinking around. I saw a hellhound in the Blue Hills this weekend. I laughed. No, really, Judith said gravely. Oh, so what do you think is going on? Nothing good. As always, life barreled ever forward, utterly baffling paranormal activity be damned. Smash cut to me on the playground melting in the 80-degree November heat, praying the girls would tell me they wanted to go home soon, when I was approached by a group of women. I'd known these four enough to exchange hellos for years. They're a tight-knit little group, friendly, but arm's-length friendly. Easy enough to chat with at an auction or a parent grade social. We had various kids in the same grades, but their extracurriculars never overlapped. I fixed my face into a pleasant expression and tried to remember how I'd left the house. Inspiration had struck that afternoon, and I'd been writing on a streak when I realized I'd be late to pick up. As such, I had on one of Chris's crusty old high school football sweatshirts, and I'd thrown a baseball hat over my unwashed hair. I'd been losing the war against rosacea, and the goddamn heat wasn't doing me any favors. I felt that familiar pang of embarrassment as I took in the stylish women around me, and then reminded myself that lifestyle was available any time I wanted to wade back into it. But I'd chosen to put my attention elsewhere. I hadn't completely given up on keeping up, but it had fallen far down my list of priorities. We exchanged the usual how are yous and how are the kids and can you believe this heat so late in the seasons. I sensed they were building up to ask me for something, but for the life of me, I couldn't think what it could possibly be. They weren't a part of the PTO crew. Again, our kids didn't share any activities, so what in the world did they want? Hey, would you consider coming to our book club this Thursday? Kira, their de facto leader, asked abruptly. Hell yes, I replied, with far too much enthusiasm. What are you guys reading? Quick math told me I'd only have 2 days to read whatever book they'd chosen for the month, but I knew I could make it happen. Oh, Still Alice, by Lisa Genova. Katrina offered. Shit. I didn't know much about the book, but I did know about the Julianne Moore movie adaptation. Cool, I said, attempting to hide my disappointment. I'd pegged them for more of a Reese's Book Club crowd. As a rule, I do not read dramatic novels. There's enough to worry about in real life. But a book club invite was on the line. I'm embarrassed to admit how excited I was to be included. I've wanted to be a part of a book club for ages, but, well, no one has extended an invitation. I mean, there's always the option to join a community group like the Juniors or the Wellesley Mothers Forum and then join their book club, but that's an awful lot of effort to go to gain access to something I'd probably only manage to show up for half the time. Sorry, I know I'm rambling, but this is a quandary I've considered a lot over the years, but have done absolutely nothing to resolve. And now I've involved you in this looping thought. I apologize. Anyhow, Kiara offered to text me her address and asked, "Does 7 p.m. work?" "It does," I replied, vowing that I'd make it work come hell or high water. Chris and I had planned to go out to dinner that Thursday, as we try to do every other week, but he completely understood why I wanted to stand him up. I think he was secretly relieved. I'd been prickly and anxious and worried, and for good reason, given the state of everything. This was a chance to do something I enjoyed, to talk about books. A book I didn't have any desire whatsoever to read, but a book nonetheless. Kiara's home was at the tippity top of a hilly part of town close to our elementary school. The neighborhood is made up of smaller lots and charming homes, many of which are well over 100 years old. Our last house was on the edge of this neighborhood, and though I'd walked these hills quite a bit, oddly enough, I'd never made it down Kiara's particular street. I pulled up and parked behind a line of 3 SUVs sitting in front of her house. 2 little boys played basketball in the driveway. "Hi, guys," I called, to which they barely spared me a glance. Feeling awkward and irked, I approached the front door and pressed an oversized button on a Ring doorbell. No answer. I tried to appear patient, aware that I was on camera. I waited a few more beats, then put my hand up to press the button again when the door was wrenched open and Kiara appeared, screaming, "Connor, I told you to come inside 5 minutes ago." Obviously startled by my presence, she stared at me. "Sorry, Liz, hi, come in. Why didn't you ring the bell?" I was about to explain that I had when Connor began a litany of complaints, arguing that it wasn't fair that he had to go inside. Apparently Mason's mom said he could stay out until 8. "Head on through to the back," Kiara instructed before walking outside to bargain with her son. The house was nice, tidy, coordinated in a way that almost felt staged. Save for the large family photo I spied over the fireplace in the living room, the design included no personal details. It was one of those houses where thought had obviously been put into design choices, and yet there were no clues as to the personalities of the people who lived there. Even the tastefully framed children's art on the wall in the hallway looked generic. I continued to the back of the house and was surprised to find a wide open great room, the entire back wall lined with windows and 2 French doors. I was surprised to see a view of a large backyard edged by what looked like woods. That was a surprise given the neighborhood's makeup. To my left was the kitchen area. A large waterfall marble island divided the space from the family room area to my right. "Oh, good you're here," Katrina drawled from her perch on a predictable Serena and Lily stool. Kelsey and Kennedy had spots on the oversized sectional sofa, tan basket weave fabric, Hermes blanket draped prominently across one arm, stiff blue and white block print throw pillows strategically placed. They each offered hellos as Katrina asked what I'd like to drink. I noted their wine glasses, considered, and asked for bubbly water if they had one. They did. We made small talk. There were 2 new restaurants in town, and we all agreed they were both better than could have been hoped for. The Scholastic Book Fair approached, and we discussed the ongoing battle over whether or not the doodads should be put out for the kids to purchase alongside their books. The baubles and pens and stickers and slap bracelets drew ire from parents who believed the book fair was for books and books alone. Truly, I couldn't care less if the kids wanted to buy a cheap and ineffective pencil eraser alongside their chapter books, but it wasn't something I wanted to argue in favor of either. Kelsey felt very strongly about it. Kennedy said the kids didn't need any more plastic in their lives, and Katrina voiced her concern over the abundance of what she called trashy books. Now there was a hill I was willing to die on. "Trashy books get kids to read," I argued, "and reading is the point, right?" "I suppose," she replied skeptically. The loud slamming of the front door, followed by stomping footsteps up the stairs, saved us from delving further into the topic. An aggravated Kiara appeared, grabbed her wine glass off the counter, instructed Katrina and I to move into the family room. We did. The 4 women sat on the couch comfortably, while I took a seat in a 2-firm armchair, upholstered in a gray and white geometric pattern, curiously at odds with the vibe of the rest of the room. I glimpsed a copy of Still Alice on the coffee table. I said, "Well, that was a difficult read." The women exchanged looks. "I mean, it was a great book," I said quickly, "but just a heavy topic, But she's an excellent writer." "Oh, no," Kennedy said. "We didn't mean for you to have to read it." "Sorry," Katrina offered. "We should have explained," Kelsey added. "Book club is sort of a standing night for us to get together, so we thought... Well, we actually wanted to talk to you about something else," Kiara concluded. And that's when it dawned on me that I hadn't been invited to book club. I hadn't been invited to talk about the book at all. Of course I hadn't. I'd known these women since my oldest was in kindergarten. If they'd wanted me to be a part of their book club, they would have asked years ago. And just like that, out of embarrassment, I felt my walls go up. I forced a smile. Got it. I'm guessing you have a ghost problem, I said, doing my best to keep the disappointment out of my voice. Had they just told me why they wanted me there, I could have avoided reading that stupid fucking sad-ass anxiety-inducing story. It was literally the last thing I needed pinging around in my head. The women looked relieved. Not exactly a ghost problem, Katrina explained. I waited as they exchanged another look. Kiera leaned forward, apparently having silently been assigned storyteller. We played tennis on Sunday afternoons, she began. We have since the kids were toddlers. Back then, it was a way to get out of the house, hand the kids off to our husbands, and get a break before jumping into a new week. But over the years, it's just become ritual, sacred time, like our monthly book club. Do you play? Nope. You should, Kelsey encouraged. It's a great way to clear the mind. I just nodded in response. I was feeling quite foolish. Old wounds had been triggered, and it was all I could do to stay present and not revert to Ice Queen. So anyhow, one Sunday last April, we showed up at our regular time. There's a sign up on the town website, Kennedy piped in. We always make sure that we put in our names every week. And a $10 fee, Katrina pointed out. That's right, Kiera confirmed. So imagine our surprise when we found 2 men on our court with their pickleball net all set up. There are designated courts for that. The middle school isn't even one of them, Kennedy said angrily. Correct, Kiera confirmed. So we patiently explained the rules to them, but they just brushed us off, told us they were only going to be another 10 minutes, and the longer we chatted, the longer it would take to get off the court. By the time they broke down their stupid little net, they were 20 minutes into our reservation, and another group had reserved the court after us, so it completely threw everything off. We thought it was a one-time thing, but they showed up again 2 weeks later. And then the week after that, and after that, every time telling us, we'll just be 10 more minutes. Pretentious pricks, Kennedy muttered. For sure, I agreed. We reported them to the town, and nothing happened. They just sent an email, as if that would do anything. Oh, you knew who they were? We made it our business to find out, Katrina said. I asked Kenneth, my husband, if he'd come with us one week, Kiera explained. Those guys had zero respect for us, but maybe they'd listen to another man. He wouldn't do it. None of our husbands would. Said they didn't want to get involved, piss off a neighbor, yada, yada, yada. This all continued through the end of June, but we always take July and August off because everyone's summer travel schedules are too difficult to plan around. We hoped it would sort itself out, and at first we thought it did. Our first Sunday back in September, the guys weren't there, and we were sure it had all blown over. But they showed up the following weekend. I lost my mind, Kiera admitted. She went full Karen, Kennedy laughed. I completely regret letting them get to me like that, said Kiera, but I'd had it with their smug, self-satisfied bullshit. I happened to have scissors in my purse, and I cut their net down the middle. It was amazing, Katrina laughed. So satisfying to watch, Kelsey added. One guy fucking lost it. I thought he was going to hit her, Kennedy said, but the other one held him back, thank God. It was scary, Kiera conceded. I shouldn't have done it, but I was so sick of them not hearing us, not following the rules, being such privileged dickheads. They called the police and was a fucking headache to sort out. Oh, I said. I think I read about this in the Swellesley Report police blotter. I'm sure you did, Kiera replied dryly. Those bastards took our time slot the following week and every week after that. They signed up before we did. There's nothing we could do. That sucks. Why didn't you guys just change to a different court? I immediately realized that I'd said the wrong thing. I just mean, it sounds like things really escalated, and I trailed off. Yes, well, Kiera sighed. Perhaps it could have been handled differently on our part, but they were so clearly in the wrong, we didn't feel it made any sense whatsoever to give in to their bullying. At any rate, as it turned out, I was asked to abstain from using the public courts for a period of time. After all the legal trouble, I promised Kenneth I'd leave it alone, and I fully intended to, but then I was on Etsy, ordering organic candle melts, when one of those little suggested or related or whatever ad things caught my eye. I clicked on it and found a good luck spell from a Canadian woman who claimed to be a witch. It ended up bringing me down a rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, I was scrolling through curses for purchase. You didn't, I laughed. She did, Kelsey said quietly. The 4 women exchanged guilty looks. Well, technically, we all did, Katrina pointed out. What exactly did you technically do? I asked. After a long silence, in which I began to fear they were about to tell me they hired an Etsy hitman to kill the pickleball jerks, Kiera cleared her throat and admitted, I hired a witch on Etsy to design a curse. Oh, I said, relieved. Okay, did it work? The women nodded as one, and I felt myself involuntarily push back into the uncomfortable chair in an ineffective attempt to put space between us. I sorted the Etsy witches by their ratings and found the one with the best reviews. I didn't think for a minute that any of it was real, Kiera insisted. I thought it was more of a gag, something I could bring to our next book club meeting and laugh over. There were 2 options. The witch, who lives in Stockbridge, by the way, could either perform the curse for you or she could provide instructions to DIY. I chose the latter, thinking it would be a silly and maybe even a little cathartic thing we could do when we got together, like a cleansing of the whole ridiculous situation. The only item required to complete the curse was something of the offending party or parties. Well, the police had just released the scissors I'd used to cut that damn pickleball net from evidence, and as luck would have it, there was a strip of that cheap plastic fence stuck in the crux of the blades. Lucky, right? Katrina commented. They all nodded in agreement again. So what happened? I prompted, slightly distracted by the view beyond the large windows behind the couch. Landscape lighting offered a dim view of the backyard and the line of trees in the back. I kept thinking I saw movement out there, out of the corner of my eye, but when I really looked, the yard appeared empty. It worked, said Kiera. The guy who tried to attack me is blind now. Jesus, I breathed. Botched LASIK, Kelsey said in a chillingly offhand way. Anyone want a refill? The other 3 raised their empty glasses. Just bring over a new bottle, please, Kiera said. Shit, do you really think the curse did it? They nodded. I suppressed a shudder. How long ago did you do this? Exactly a month ago, Kiera replied, at our October book club meeting. What about the other guy? I saw him parallel parking a Cybertruck on Central Street last week, Katrina said, earning a chuckle from the other women. Okay, I said, not quite getting it. Those things are death traps, Katrina went on. It's only a matter of time, and he looks like a douche tooling around in that thing in the meantime. I giggled, then felt guilty for doing so. So that's the background, Kiera sighed. The background. Yes, that's why we think the demon thing showed up. Oh. It turned up right after we did the curse, said Kennedy. Do you think it could be a coincidence? Well, I doubt it. Right, she sighed. I mean, what are the chances? Tell me about this demon thing. It's tall and, lurchy, Kiera said. And it has a really deep voice, added Kennedy. But no face, Kelsey nearly whispered. Pin straight blonde hair, though, Katrina noted. Oh, dear, so you've all seen it. Yes, Kiera confirmed. And it can be more than one place at a time. It was with me at dinner the other night. But with me at the exact same time. I was out for a jog, added Kelsey. Yikes. Has it done anything other than, stalk you guys? I asked. They exchanged looks. I couldn't tell if they were guilty or excited. Well, we get the sense that it wants to do things for us, that we could ask it to, maybe help us. No, I said firmly. Do not let it trick you into thinking it could be some sort of benevolent wish granter or whatever else you might be thinking it can do for you. Right, but Kiera started when she was interrupted. What do you keep looking at? Kennedy asked, sounded frightening. You keep looking out the window behind us. Sorry, I replied. I just keep seeing movement, but I shrugged. Every time I look, there's nothing there. They exchanged looks. Curiosity got the better of me. Is it out there? I kind of wanted to see the thing. Does it usually stay out in the yard like this? No, maybe it's afraid of you, Katrina offered. I doubt it. I stood and walked over to the windows and peered out into the night, scanning the yard. Oh, Jesus! Okay, I see it. The thing had popped up from behind the solo stove, unfolding impossibly to its full size before scurrying back to the tree line, its long, shiny blonde hair trailing behind it. Yikes, I muttered, backing away from the window. A thought occurred to me. Hold on. How do you have woods behind your house up here? The neighborhood is so dense. It's just a little preservation space. There's a tiny trail back there. I squinted and could just make out the roof line of a small structure through the trees. I went back to my chair. Do any of you read my blog? They got all shifty-eyed. I don't care if you do or don't. I'm asking because I have a story about that little park. It's Kronk's, right? It is, Kiara confirmed. What happened in that park? Well, there's a sort of oracle thing that tells people the future on Halloween night, but only on odd number years. That is absurd, Kiara snickered. You have a demon with gorgeous blonde hair running around your backyard, I pointed out. But what does an oracle have to do with what we did? Well, actually it was sort of a tulpa to begin with. I was met with blank stares. A thought form, a thing that some high school kids conjured to life because they all focused on the idea of it and believed it was real. But we didn't do anything like that. We just did a curse spell thingy, Kennedy whined. Well, sort of. I mean, I think the thing may have been attracted to your focus, your shared goal, and it transformed itself. The only question is, what does it want? What is its purpose now? It wants to help us, Kiara insisted. No. Well, why not? If it was attracted to us wanting to right a wrong, then maybe that's why it's here. But you guys were seeking revenge, not righting a wrong, I pointed out. They seemed to consider my point. Do you think we could communicate with it? I don't know, but I sure as hell wouldn't try. What should we do then? Kennedy asked. Ignore it as best you can, and if you'd like, I can get you in touch with someone who might be able to either get rid of it or put up some protections for you. I guess we have a lot to think about, Kiara said. Liz, we really appreciate you talking this through with us. Sure, I said, recognizing that I was being dismissed. Any time. The next time I saw them was at an all-school assembly. I made sure to smile big, wave, and appear slightly dim, as though I couldn't even remember what they told me. I knew they were cooking something up, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Even more so, I didn't want to find myself on the receiving end of whatever help their blonde demon friend had to offer. Now for some book recommendations. Supporting each other and our most vulnerable in our communities is more important than ever, and if you're looking for ways to do so effectively, I suggest reading How We Show Up by Mia Birdsong. And if you feel gobsmacked at the levels of misogyny and racism that we've recently been confronted with, and if you are a white woman like me who would like to continue to deconstruct and evolve, I suggest reading Nice White Ladies by Jessie Daniels. And if you think my commenting about politics is inappropriate in this setting, if you think you're just here for a story, I'm going to let you in on a secret. You've fallen for the devious little trick all horror writers play. These ghost stories I share are cozy, yes, but as cozy as I make it for everyone here, I am a horror writer. The horror genre is and always has been social commentary. The monster is a metaphor. For example, a theme I revisit often in my writing is the idea of women trapped in gilded cages. In my stories, these women are predominantly white, and their proximity to power and money has failed to protect them. Because proximity to power is not power. Another way I've heard this concept explained goes like this. You may be the master's favorite dog, but you still have a master, and you're still a dog. One more recommendation before I go. I'm pretty sure I've suggested this before, but just to be sure, if you, like me, need something to take your mind off thoughts of impending doom, please read the Aurora Tea Garden series by Charlene Harris. It's as cozy as it comes. Book 1 is a bone to pick, and if you're able, do listen to the audiobook. The narrator is fantastic. And that's that. See you all after the new year. This has been Ghosts in the Burbs. Good night, sleep tight, and don't forget your nightlight.